I feel like highlighting most armies is a really simple and easy thing to do. You just take your base colour and then one shade higher and then just put that around all the trim. But then it comes to the Black Templar and they're a little bit different. I think with the Black Templar, there's so many different ways to highlight, whether it be like a light blue, a silver, a grey, maybe even a dark green. So today I thought it'd be really cool if we take all of these Black Templar Sternguard veterans that are all built, based and ready to go, and try out a whole bunch of different colours and techniques and see what is the best way to highlight some Black Templars. And here are all of our test subjects all laid out in a million pieces of sub-assembly. I do get that this is a little bit of overkill, but I do find it easier to work like this, especially with edge highlighting, because you can just pick up something like this cork with a power fist and just twist and turn and get in all the angles, and I just find it easier to break down, especially when you're doing so much, break it down into little manageable chunks like this. So yeah, we've got all our test subjects. They're all primed in ghoul grey, and then they've had a layer of Black Templar contrast and Nuln oil put all over them. So it's just the base coat done, ready for some fresh highlights. But as well as our test subjects, we've also got the eclectic mix of many different paint colours over here. So let's bring them all in. These are all the highlighting colours we're going to be testing out and trying today. So we've got the more traditional one that pretty much everyone uses. Like when I was looking around, this is the main colour that people go for, and it's the sort of Incubi Thunderhawk Fenrisian combo, that sort of like dark greeny bluey sort of vibe. So I'm keen to try that out. We've also got some silver. Going to try doing some like dry brushing of this to make a sort of metallic-y chipped look. I've done this before and it's quite cool, so I'm keen to try it again. Then lastly, we've got the colours we're actually going to start with. Just some nice muted, cool, inoffensive greys. So I've seen this a couple of times on like Duncan Roads and heavy metal tutorials. It's just starting off with an edge highlight of Eshin Grey all over the model, and then sort of some more targeted Mechanicus standard on some of the raised areas and some more prominent sections. And then once we've done that, we're going to come back and dust off the Dawnstone for some spot highlights. So yeah, going to start off with these greys. Let's move all these boys to one side and get started. Right, so there's the first layers of Eshin Grey and Mechanicus Standard Grey. It's looking okay. It's one thing that is really funny is because the Eshin Grey is really similar to black. Sometimes I find it quite hard to see, even if I put it on. Like when I'm applying it, I'll do like a line and be like, looking like, is it even there? It's kind of hard to see. I guess that's a little knock against it, because I normally, just to jump ahead a little bit, I normally use Russ Grey and Fenrisian Grey and stuff. So obviously, when you slap something like this on the model, it's really easy to see. So yeah, a little bit awkward sometimes. Looking okay, quite nice and muted and subtle. I guess that's one of the draws of this like grey highlighting people like. It's very subtle and not in your face. I'll be keen to see what it looks like once we've put all the details on and stuff. But we're going to do that at the end. We'll do all the highlighting and then the details afterwards. But there's one little bit left for this dude, and it is just some Dawnstone. So I'm thinking just slapping this on maybe like a teeny tiny bit on like the knee, the collar, maybe one or two little raised sections. I've been quite heavy-handed with the lighter colours on the backpack just because that's obviously at the top. So like maybe a little bit of Dawnstone just here. Yeah, we'll just spatter about little bits of Dawnstone and then move on to the next one, I guess. Yeah, and there's all those last little bits of Dawnstone just around like the top colour, the sharpest like edges, and the ones like facing the highest, like if it was sort of built upright and the light was shining from the top down. Looking quite cool. Nice and happy with that. So we'll have a proper review later at the end. Like I said, we'll do all these highlights and then fill in the details and look at them all together. So moving on to the next one, I think we're going to go for the more traditional, like one that most people use. I think the most mainstream one when I was researching sort of different schemes, this is the one that came up the most. So it is a first coat of Incubi Darkness over pretty much everything, like a nice highlight everywhere, and then layer that up with some Thunderhawk Blue, just to build up on those highlights in some more prominent areas. And we'll do that first, then we'll come back and talk about the Fenrisian and the Blue Horror. And that's the first layer of highlights done the Incubi Darkness and Thunderhawk Blue, and yeah, I can kind of see why this is like the most used one, the most like mainstream that everyone goes for, because it is quite nice. It's a nice gradual soft incline. Like I did feel like with the greys a little bit, like we'll get into the proper nitty gritty at the end, but just an initial comparison, I felt like the greys were like almost hard to see and then a sharp like rise up, whereas this is like quite a nice gradual increase, you know, like especially on around the knees here, and the belt, a bit on the chest is looking good, you know. So there's just one final part for this, and that is just building up some more of those highlights. So we've got some Fenrisian Grey that we're going to put on some of the, just literally the topmost face raising sections. So literally I think maybe this knee, the collar, although I feel like I've said that like 4 times now. Maybe a little bit up here on the leg, although this is actually missing some highlights, isn't looking too good. So maybe I might layer some of those up. This side's good. And then yeah, maybe like some of the top sections of the backpack. Just those literal like that would be catching the most light. And then the Blue Horror is quite literally just a spot highlight of that corner just here on the panel, maybe like a corner up here on the belt, just like those little edges that would be like shining in the light, you know. And there's all of the Thunderhawk Blues, Fenrisian Greys, and some spot highlights of Blue Horror. And it's looking good. Yeah, I can see why this is such a commonly used scheme. Like it looks really nice, and like that gradual incline, like I mentioned, where it sort of builds up those colours gradually. So looking quite good, very prominent. I'm very keen to see what this looks like when we've done everything. But before we do that, before we move on to the details, we've just got 2 final ones to do, and these are going to be quick to be fair, because one of them I just want to see how these new schemes compare to what we originally do. And what we originally did was just Drybrush and Russ Grey on. So we're going to do just that now. We're just going to get a Drybrush and slap some Russ Grey over all of it. And I might slap a little bit of Fenrisian Grey on some like raised sections. But that's what I normally do. If you've watched the channel before, you've seen it a million times. But I'm keen to see what this looks like compared to the new ones. And similarly, we're just going to grab some silver. I think, what have I got? Probably gunmetal, like AK gunmetal. It's quite dark silver. I've seen people dry brush out over the edges for kind of like a chip damage, like wear and tear. So we'll try that as well. Just a nice basic layer of silver dry brush highlights. Awesome, there's all the highlighting done, and thank God, because if I have to highlight another edge, I will push myself off the edge. Oh God, this is such a good idea, and I'm glad I did it, because it's cool to see all the different variations of colour and how they look on the armour, but I didn't really comprehend or think about the fact I'd have to edge highlight. I only edge highlight 2 of them, to be fair, but there was a lot of edges and a lot of layering up colours. The dry brushing was a nice break. It was nice and easy to pick up a dry brush and just slap it on, which I guess is a strength of that scheme, and maybe something we'll talk about at the review at the end. But what's next? I just want to put all the details on them, like the tabards, the aquillas. They've got like belts and relics. Basically, I just want to put the same colours and details across all of them. That way, when we come to compare them at the end, it'll be a nice, good comparison, because they'll all look the same. It'll just be the highlighting of the armour that's different, so we can really see the differences in those highlights. But yeah, it's fun. I have had to actually like isolate them in pairs, because I keep forgetting, like, there's so many pieces on my desk. I keep forgetting, like, oh yeah, this is the grey one, this is the silver, and this is the Russ. Okay, cool. Like, having to like try and piece them all together. I don't want to accidentally glue a Thunderhawk Blue and Blue Horror Power Fist onto like a lead belcher body. But no, I think I've got it all okay. They're all organised now. So yeah, we'll just slowly work through all of the details. And what I want to start off with is just everything on the torso, I think. A nice big chunky piece. I like doing that first. But yeah, we'll just hash out some of the details on these bodies and whatnot, and try and like fly through this, and then we can get to the review at the end. We're definitely getting somewhere with these body details. So I've just slapped on a bunch of the like non-metallic stuff, like the cloth of the tabard, all the browns on the belts. I'm trying to work out what this little like thing down here, the strip on the knee is. I feel like it's like a kind of parchment tag. I'm not really sure. I've been just playing around with it. I think I'll just sort of stick with the Wraithbone-y skeleton horde vibe I'm going for. I might see if I can find some transfers to put on it later. I'm not sure. I've seen people write text and stuff, but for the most part, just a little strip down there is kind of cool. I say non-metallic details. I did slap on just some silver and some gold on this chain, just because it was like around the tabard anyway, and then a bit of gold and some bolts while they were there. So I think next up, all we need to do is just finish up some of these metallics. Like I need to put some shades on the, I guess actually just the gold. I put some Agrax Earthsade on the chain, and I guess I could put some highlights on it of like oily steel or something. And then maybe like shade down and highlight some of this gold with, I like Riekland Fleshshade and Liberator Armour, just to brighten up. Then after that we can move on to something interesting and different, because this whole torso will be done. So what have we got? This has been quite chunky, so what I'll probably do next is just some of the weapons, just because they're pretty simple and basic. Just like some Khorne Reds and Silvers for the gun, and then like maybe some gold or something for this fist. And then we can get on to something cool and fancy and big and time-sinky like this banner. So that's almost everything done. All the shoulder pads, the weapons, the details. There's just one final thing to do before we start comparing all of these highlighting colours and how they look, and that is this big back banner. I know the video is all about highlighting colours like we mentioned and seeing if like the blues are the best or the greys or the silvers, and we will get to that and look at that in 2 seconds. I just really thought it'd be cool to include painting this just because this is such a big, unique, cool piece to the Stoneguard veterans, and I'm sure it's going to look awesome. So I thought, you know what, we'll chuck in painting this as well. So this is just going to be some reds, kind of layer up some reds, probably like Mephiston and Evil Sunz on these sort of like raised and lowered areas. A nice trim of gold, and then we'll slap like some transfers and stuff in. But yeah, let's just quickly finish this up, build and glue this all together, and then we can start comparing all of these different highlighting colours and seeing which is going to look best. And here are all 4 of our totally complete, 100% finished, nothing missing Stoneguard veterans, all highlighted in their own way. So yeah, obviously they've not got their heads, but that's not really important for the video. I'm in an RN or trying to pick between like black helmets or white helmets and then like highlights and stuff, and I was like, actually that's not really the point of this video. The point is to look at the highlight colours for the armour, so actually the head's not important, I can chuck them on after. I mean, even this guy here's, his head is actually just blue tacked on. So we should probably take this off just not to detract attention away from the armour. But there we go. Yeah, looking really, really good. It's cool. It's not as like massively different as I thought it'd be. Like I thought you'd glance at them and it'd be like, whoa, it's all like 4 completely different models. It's quite subtle and different. So what we'll do is we'll quickly look at each one individually for like literally like 30 seconds to a minute, talk about the highlights, and then we can start getting into the nitty gritty and comparing them as a whole. So I guess we'll start off with the dude with the massive heavy flamer on the end. Cool, so this guy, if I'm not mistaken, was just the dry brushing sort of method. You can kind of see on the backpack there, definitely, on that little circle section. So this is my normal method, where I grab just a dry brush of Russ Grey and I just honestly slather it all over, you would have seen. So you can kind of see, actually, if we zoom in. There we go, yeah. I just think this hyper zoom might be a little bit better when looking at highlights, especially on that leg there. But just quickly, let's self-indulge a little bit. How cool does this model look? Oh, look at this giant, massive, huge flamer. That stance like him putting it towards you. Yeah, man, that's cool. This is one of my favourites of the group, I think. Although I do love the banner. But anyway, let's stay on track. Highlights. We're here for highlights. So yeah, the knee and the side panel there, you can kind of see. So yeah, I do quite like this effect. One of the perks with this and also the Lead Ultra one is dry brushing is very quick and easy. It is a 2 minute slap it all over kind of job. It's not as stark and in your face. It's quite subtle in some sections, which again is a pro and a con. Some stuff like on that sort of shin guard there, and then on that knee pad at the bottom, the foot, here and here. I actually added on some Fenrisian Greys just for these sort of raised areas to make them stand out a little bit. That's why they're a little bit more prominent, whereas you look at sort of here, it's a bit more subtle and blue. I think this is okay. It adds some sort of depth to it, like especially look around here and whatnot. Oh, I painted these on, but around like the arm you can see it adds something, not as stark and in your face and super bright and bold, but it does add some layers there, and I think it's a fine thing to do if you just want to do a quick little, I guess, army painting, if you just want to get some highlights on the board. I think this works and it's okay, and yeah, it's definitely got some pros and cons, and I like the way the Russ Grey dry brush and a little bit of Fenrisian Grey looks. Get like a nice little effect for fairly minimal effort. And then moving on to this one, which is the one I was most excited for. So this is the Incubi Darkness, Thunderhawk Blue, Fenrisian Grey, and then Spotlights of Blue Horrors. This is like loads of layers built up, and yeah, I can see why this is like one of the most commonly used ones. It's got a nice like gradient, a nice build up. Like you've got the Dark Reaper like subtle, and then it kind of like gradually increases over and over again, like the knees here, and I guess on this section here you can kind of see some of the Dark Reaper and the Thunderhawk Blue on his elbow. Like it's got a nice gradual incline. I think if you're really, really good at edge highlighting and knowing where to put which colours and how to build them up and stuff, this would definitely look the best as well. Because like while I do feel more confident with edge highlighting, I'm still not like completely there. I still got loads of room to improve, but even with my like mid-level skills, I still think it looks fairly okay. But then I imagine, yeah, if you were like really good at painting, you could proper take these up another level. So while it's a lot of effort, I think it's a good. This is probably one of the best, and I can see why everyone uses it. Like, it looks really good. It's got like a gradual incline, and it's good. It gives you a lot of repetitions to practice and improve. The only downside is, yeah, it's like 4 layers of highlight, so it just takes an absolute like lifetime to do it. But for like big characters and leaders and stuff, it's definitely worth the effort. But no, big fan of this one. This one's looking really nice. And I guess to switch back to a dry brush and do now, so this was just lead belcher. So we did the Black Templar contrast, and then yeah, just lathered lead belcher like all over the model, like with a dry brush. Quite heavy on because I kind of wanted it to have that sort of industrial metallic look. You can see they're definitely on the back of that little butt flap. It's just silver and shiny in the backpack. Then yeah, that gives this nice like metallic sheen. I think I noticed on a lot of the recipes that use this highlight, people also sponge on some chip damage. And I'll probably do that after I film this video. I just kind of wanted to focus on what the lead belcher dry brush highlights look like, because I felt like if I added the chip damage, then that stops being just a highlight and kind of like a whole Black Templar recipe. Whereas this, I kind of wanted to focus on the highlights themselves, you know. So yeah, you can kind of see on his elbow there and his hand, some nice like metallic shine. Makes him look all like industrial and like heavy metal. Kind of like he belongs like a Ridley Scott film, you know, like on the Nostromo or like in an Alien film. It looks really, really cool. And yeah, similarly to the Russ Grey, very minimal effort, just yeah, a whole like slavering of dry brush. It doesn't really add too much depth to it. I guess that's what the point of highlighting is, right? You sort of highlight some areas to give some like depth and volume and whatnot. So it doesn't add too much of that, but does add a cool like vibe of yeah, just shiny, metallic, heavy, sort of worn armor. And yeah, lastly, just the greys. So this was like Mechanicus standard. No, sorry, it was Eshin, then Mechanicus, then Dawnstone. I noticed as well I had Celestial Grey, I think. Was it Celestial Grey maybe as well? I had like 1 or 2 other greys basically that I was like, maybe I should have incorporated these as well, just more like layers of grey, because it is quite subtle, this thing. And I guess that, if, again, that's your jam, what you like, then this might be the one for you, because yeah, when I was doing the first layer of Eshin Grey, it was kind of hard to see, am I even applying any of the highlights, just because like it's so subtle against the grey and the black armour. It's kind of hard to stand out and see. And then once I got onto the Mechanicus and the Dawnstone, then it was, yeah, really obvious. I guess that's an upside and a downside. Like, it was hard to do, but it was like subtle and not in your face. So I guess if you like that sort of subtle look, that kind of all, once you look a little bit harder, you can see the highlights. Then yeah, this might be for you, because I know some people, when I was researching highlighting colours, were like, I don't like the blues, they're too in your face and bold. I kind of like the greys, they're very like hidden and subtle. So I can see that being a perk if that's what you like. Personally, I think I just kind of prefer the sort of more bold, in-your-face, defining colours of like the blues and the Russ Greys and stuff. But I can see why people might like this one. You know, like it's very nice and clean, kind of fits the colour spectrum of the blacks and the greys. It's not as like a stark in your face. And here they are, all 4 of them done, lined up together. And yeah, you know what? This was good. I really enjoyed doing this. I think I learned a lot, and I've kind of ordered them in a way. I was going to say I've ordered them in my favourite to least favourite and whatnot. So like, I do think the lead belcher for me is not my my most favourite. I do think maybe if you added some chip damage and maybe was a little bit more targeted, I was very like messy and kind of like went all over. Maybe maybe if I was a little bit more targeted and maybe added some chip damage and wear and tear, it would look a lot better. And then similarly, the grey, yeah, I'm not a massive fan of how subtle it is. Like, it's not a knock on these schemes at all. I think these both look cool, and they've definitely got their place. And if that's your jam and you like the subtle, the metallic and the shiny and the industrial, these are great. I just personally, my personal preference is I just like the bold look. But these two look great as well. I do like them. They're awesome. I can't decide between these two, though. So on the one hand, I do like what I've been doing. I like the Russ Grey to put a nice light foundation, and then kind of using Fenrisian Grey to sort of highlight some other areas and give them a little bit more extra pizzazz. But I feel like there's not really, the ceiling for this is quite low. You can't really make that go really, really good. Whereas I like with the Incubi Darkness, Thunderhawk Blue kind of this approach, I feel like the sky's the limit. Like, the better you get at highlighting, I feel like you can really make it look incredible. So I'm kind of torn between which one I'm going to use going forward. I mean, I guess I could stick with the Russ Grey and the Fenrisian Grey for like army painting and batch painting. Like, for example, I've got 4 Hellblasters that I need to paint up for my army, like to play with. So maybe for them I might just stick with the quick and simple easy. But then like I've got a Brutalis Dreadnought. I think it's a Brutalis. I've got a Dreadnought I need to paint, and a Lieutenant I want to like do. I think maybe, yeah, do you know what, for a character and a big piece, maybe I will invest the extra time and give it a go. Because I do want to get better at edge highlighting, because I've seen some like models that are really well edge highlighted look incredible. I really want to get there. So I do think maybe if I keep doing the Russ Grey dry brushing, I'm maybe limiting myself and not giving myself a chance to grow. So maybe actually, yeah, you know what, I've convinced myself. Let's move this guy forward. I actually think going forward, I'm going to try and push myself a little bit more to use the Incubi Darkness Thunderhawk Blue full works, just to help myself grow, push myself, and really get better as a painter, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? Like, that's my favourite part of the hobby, is the painting and getting better and making cool looking models. So yeah, maybe I should push myself to use this. And there we have it, 4 Black Templar Stoneguard veterans painted up in different highlighting schemes. And you know what? That was really, really good. And then for reasons I didn't think until about 5 minutes ago when I was just doing that review section you just watched. So I thought when I started this, I was like, I just want to try out some extra colours, see what they're like, see if my edge highlighting has gotten better than I thought it had. And it has, to be fair. I think it's better. There's still a long way to go, but I'm definitely working on it and getting better. And I thought I'll probably just stick with the Russ Grey at the end of this. You know, like, I like the look of these other colours, but I feel comfortable in my little Russ Grey little ecosystem of the dry brushing. But you know what? When I was talking about it in that review and being like, yeah, you know, when you edge highlight everything, the ceiling's a lot higher, and then you can get a better look overall if you're good at edge highlighting with the Dark Reapers and all those colours. Personally, anyway, because I think that looks cool. Yeah, do you know what? I've pushed myself into that, like, you know what, actually, let's put down the dry brush. I do think dry brushing is a great technique and really good, and you can do some incredible stuff. Like, Artist Opus and their stuff is just boggling to the mind. Like, it's unreal, some of the stuff he does with dry brushes. But I do think I need to push myself more with edge highlighting and just outside of my comfort zone a little bit and really push myself to try, because it's definitely, like I mentioned, a high skill ceiling. Like, if you're really good at edge highlighting, I feel like you can get some like incredible looking models. And I feel like I've been leaning on the dry brush a little bit too much, maybe. So yeah, you know what? I'm glad I did this, because I've kind of convinced myself to try out more edge highlighting. And it's been good. Yeah, I liked it. So yeah, in the future, I think I don't know what we're doing next. Oh, I want to do I guess a little sneak peek into the future. I really want to make a lieutenant with a combi weapon, because the model's like incredible in game. It's got like 1 million abilities. It's really cheap, so I want to try one out. So what I've got here is I've actually got to Lieutenant Titus. So I'm hopefully, maybe I can try kit bashing this into like a lieutenant with combi weapon, maybe. Maybe. I say maybe. Now I've said it on the video. I've got to hold myself accountable. But this is what I'm planning on doing next. So actually, you know what? Maybe we'll try edge highlighting this guy to the 9s as well. So yeah, well, this video, big success. I'm glad, actually. But let me know in the comments which one of those colours was your favourite, or if there's a highlighting scheme that you use that I should try out, because I'm always looking to try new things and learn. And thanks for watching. Drop a like and subscribe, and tune in next time. Bye!